Hi, Faraze, and welcome to the About Her show. This show is about women achievers who we call women trailblazers. And it is about conversations where they share the story of their lives with us, tell us about their journey, ups and downs, challenges, and how they navigated their lives around those challenges. And the idea is to inspire and motivate the listeners, to get out of whatever is holding them back and follow their
Hmm.
dreams, their desires, their ambitions. And eventually, we want to build a community of women who are there to help, support, and encourage, motivate each other. So, welcome. And without further ado, let's dive in. Yeah.
Yeah, so hi Sangeeta, and it's a pleasure being here with you on this about fabulous show that you have, and I would be happy to, help women, empower them, and like you said, give them a space where, like they get some form of holding
Yes.
and some strength and courage too.
Yes. Yes. Right. Right. So tell us a little bit about your childhood and early life and how those experiences they kind of influenced the path that you took in life.
Okay, so I grew up I was the firstborn in both my paternal and maternal side of the family, and my father was in the army, in the armed
Mhm.
forces. But I was raised by my grandparents, so I grew up surrounded by a lot of love, a lot of affection, a lot of warmth. My grandparents' home was it was like it was like an open house. I would say everyone was welcome, and so we belong to this in Punjab in Pakistan, which is called Miawali. And we belong to the Pathan tribe. And there is a lot of oppression there um, till date. So my grandmother, at least, was very, she was very progressive. And I was raised by women who actually were very, I would say they were very empowered in their own beautiful way,
Mhm.
very dignified. And my grandmother actually got her schooling, her early education in Ambala, India.
Okay.
And my great grandfather, he migrated from India to Pakistan. So, my grandmother also had a sister, and she also used to live with my grandparents. She again was a amazing role model for me while I grew up. So I had quite a fairy tale kind of a childhood.
Mm.
And because my dad was in the armed forces, so mostly I spent most of my years with my grandparents because he used to move from, city to city, and there weren't that many good schools there then. But I did, get a taste of that life also, moving homes, connecting with people. So I would say that, yeah, I had a very kind of, there was a lot of learning also there when we used to move different cities, just meeting other people. A lot of like, I learned to adapt
Mhm.
to new situations, new schools, new environments. So yeah, I think I had quite a amazing childhood.
Okay. So do you think that paved the way for the kind of life that you're leading now, or whatever you're doing now? Did that influence you?
Um, I always loved connecting with people, even as a child. I had a lot of friends. I was very curious as a child, very creative. I loved reading books. I remember coming back from school, and the first thing I would do is grab a book and just kind of huddle in a corner and read till my mother would find me.
Mm.
She really encouraged me. My mother loved to paint. She was very passionate about art. She still is. And she really encouraged me to read and kind of um, believe in myself. And one phrase that she always used to kind of say was that uh, a a vision is merely a dream until you take action.
Yes, that's
So
true.
yeah,
True.
and
Yeah.
another line that I grew up hearing, not only from my mom but also from my grandmother, was uh, be your own superhero. Like nobody's going to come rescue you. So
Yeah,
really
that's
believe
so
in
true.
yourself and just sit and kind of wallow in your self-pity and misery. Just
Mhm.
kind of get up and do it. Don't just whine and grumble. So
Hmm.
these were the kind of messages, or maybe the stories that I grew up listened to whilst I was growing up. And there was a very fearful child, a little girl in me too. Um, but then there was a part of me which was very like curious and just fearless also.
Okay.
So yeah, I was very passionate about reading. I loved Enid Blyton, and I also used to doodle a lot. So I would often go into this fantasy world as a child and just create stories in my head. So I loved listening to stories. I loved telling stories,
Hmm.
and I loved watching movies. One of my favorite movies was Sound of Music,
Okay.
and I remember I recorded the whole movie on उस जमाने में there used to be cassette. So I
Yes.
remember I recorded the whole movie on that.
Hmm. Okay. So interesting. And I think, yeah, when you have powerful and role model women around you, they do actually, in some way or the other, they influence you. I mean, you may not realize it at that point, but I
Yeah,
think you
yeah,
imbibe that
true.
strength from them in a big way. Okay.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah.
So as a child, like we all have these dreams of wanting to become something when we grow up, these aspirations. So did you have any of those?
I did. I wanted to be an author. I wanted to write a book.
Oh,
And
great.
like I said, I would doodle and I would write stories. Generally, I started writing a diary, I think, when I was probably 6 or 7.
Oh, okay.
And I had this small diary, and there was a lock to it. One of my aunts got it from the States.
Mm-hmm.
So I started writing in my diary, yeah, at a very early age. And like I said, I loved reading, I loved writing, and I loved, doodling and just kind of. I wasn't very like into art, painting, and all, but these were definitely some of the things which. And I love horses. I always used to, that feeling of sitting on a horse and that freedom of just kind of
Yeah.
feeling the
The wind in your
wind blowing
hair
your
and yeah.
face and all that. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
It's a very
Oh,
liberating kind of a feeling. Yeah.
yeah, I can imagine. So, just tell us about the kind of work that you do now. I mean, the counseling and all of that you do. How did you get into it, and what exactly is it about?
Okay, so I got married at a very young age. I was married into my mother's family, and I um, I had 5 beautiful children from him, but there was a lot going on in that marriage which I was not okay with, and I decided to take a very brave step
Mm-hmm.
because here in our society in Pakistan, there is still a lot of shame when it comes to divorce
Mm-hmm.
and leaving marriages. So I divorced my ex-husband, and after that, I found this wonderful man who I remarried. And again, there was a lot of shame associated with that also. So I was carrying a lot of my past trauma, and then the marriage, although there was nothing, obviously he had his trauma and I had my trauma, but generally the shame around it kind of really started burdening me, and that's when I decided to go into counseling therapy, my
Okay.
own personal therapy. I
Mm.
had no idea what therapy was. I had heard that it's just something to do with mental health, but I had no clarity. I was pretty confused. So I found this really wonderful therapist who held my pain, guided me, and really gave me a lot of support.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I saw how it helped me break a lot of patterns. Because what happens is that when you yourself have been through trauma, and you're not aware of it, and you don't get the right space or that safety to kind of process it, you start projecting it onto others, and mostly it's your loved ones.
Yeah, yeah.
And that, of course, you start inflicting your own pain onto others. So it becomes like a this cycle that you get stuck in,
Mm-hmm.
like kind of like self-sabotage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as I kept processing my own stuff, broke a lot of patterns, got to know myself, got to understand myself, I literally, Sangeeta, broke a lot of barriers. And I sometimes, when I reflect on my own story, I'm like, wow, was that me?
Hmm.
Like I don't even know. Sometimes I myself am kind of amazed.
Yeah.
So down the road, maybe a year or so, my therapist just suggested, she said, why don't you take this up as a profession? Because I was totally in awe of her, my
Hmm.
therapist, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And I said, really? You think I can do it? And she said, yeah, you have just the right ingredients. You're a very good listener. And she kind of then, kind of identified a few of my strengths, which are needed or which are kind of, I would say, essential for a good counselor or a good therapist.
Hmm.
So I started my journey about 5 years back, and I did a certification, which is basically in humanistic counseling, which is more of your own self awareness and an understanding of your own self.
Okay.
And then after that, I did my diploma in psychodynamic psychoanalysis and humanistic already I had done. So I did that. That was about 2 years. Then I
Mm-hmm.
did a couple of, I did a internal family systems program. So I'm a certified IFS trainer. Then I did a few other online courses again, on counseling. And I started practicing about 2 years back, and I really enjoy my work. I think it's one of the most fulfilling professions.
Mm-hmm.
It is so beautiful how, you know, the connection, how
Yeah.
you connect to another human being and how you connect to that human being's pain. But at the same time, I also still am in personal therapy, because unless you really go deep into your own process, you won't be able to help the client sitting in front of you, because you really need to connect to your own pain and have a lot of compassion for yourself. And then I have weekly supervision sessions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like it's an ongoing process, I would say.
Okay. So basically, you're counseling and helping people deal with their issues, challenges, traumas, or, whatever they would have faced in life. So yes, it is quite a challenge, I'm sure, to do this. And you need to not only connect, but empathize and sympathize with the other person.
Yeah,
And of
yeah,
course, you've got
yeah.
to have those emotions and those feelings in place yourself, because before you can do it
Yes.
for others. So tell me,
Yeah, yeah.
when you started thinking of getting into this as a profession, so were there any challenges, any hurdles that you faced, and were those hurdles because of your gender or because of the space that you wanted to get into?
No, I didn't face any challenges as far as my gender was concerned. I think people here are pretty open to counseling now. When I started, maybe the awareness wasn't that much, but I have felt it in the last 2 years. There's been a huge shift,
Okay.
and people are getting out of this. There is shame associated with therapy or mental health.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm feeling that kind of that shame is slowly diffusing,
Okay.
because I have a lot of clients. And you know what? The very interesting thing that I experienced when I started practice was that women were very open to coming and reaching out for therapy, but
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of shame when it came to men.
Okay.
So, and then the few male clients that I do have today, I mean, they are so, once that kind of that shame barrier breaks,
Mm-hmm.
they become so vulnerable and so kind of, I feel that with women, maybe it's not as empowering for me
Mm-hmm.
as it is to work with men. I mean,
Okay. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel the connection is maybe more beautiful when it
Okay.
comes to male clients.
But do you
Once
think
they open up, once they become vulnerable. Yeah.
But do you think they don't open up initially because of this false sense of bravado which men have, or
Of course, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, of
yeah.
course. There's a lot of, like, the ego and shame and oh my God, you're a man. How can you cry and how can
Yeah,
you express
yeah,
your feelings? So like I said, the more vulnerable they become, the more deeper and the more beautiful the connection is.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right, because men, I think boys are told that, I mean, there is that stereotype that you cannot show your emotion, you cannot cry when you get hurt. So obviously, when they become men, of
Yeah.
course, this gets even more, I guess, hardened in that sense. So tell me, any young girl who
True.
wants to get into the space of therapy or mental health counseling, any tips that you would like to share with them, and how easy or difficult it is to get into this? And I mean, like I said, any tips that you would like to share?
So as far as I'm concerned, and of course I can speak from my own personal experience, when I started, when I took up this profession, there was a lot that I had to give up on, because what happens is that you get to know yourself, you get to value yourself, and what are you worth? What is your self worth, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, like I said, breaking a lot of barriers, letting go of a lot of limiting beliefs, a lot of stories that you have been carrying, or a lot of stories that were told to you by society, by culture, by whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of letting go, right? And that letting go is not easy. It is not for the faint hearted. So, courage, of course, I would say, self energy, really kind of focusing on your self energy, curiosity, your creativity, compassion, clarity. What is your
Mm-hmm.
intention? Why do you want to take up this profession? So, working a lot first on yourself, understanding yourself.
Yeah.
Firstly, go into personal therapy yourself, get to know yourself. Like I said, it's a lot of deep work, and it takes time, it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of courage, right?
Mm-hmm.
But all these other, C's that I spoke about, they're also very important. So it is also a profession where you will have to let go of a lot of relationships, maybe a
Mm-hmm.
lot of um, a lot of things, a lot of, like I said, a lot of limiting beliefs.
Okay.
And Sangeeta, that in our culture, whether it's India or Pakistan, there's a lot that we are carrying. We are a shame-based culture. We
Hmm.
are a shame-based culture. So really breaking out of that cycle of shame.
Hmm. Hmm. And believing that it is okay to get into go to
Yeah, yeah.
therapy, it is okay to,
Yes,
get
yes,
help or to give help.
yes,
Yes, yes, I know
yes,
what you're saying.
yes.
Yes. All right. So tell me, I mean, as humans, we have our share of, highs and lows and ups and downs, different kinds of situations, happenings in our life. So how do you keep yourself motivated and on track, doing what you should be doing?
So I have a very structured routine. One thing that I'm very passionate about is taking care of my physical strength, and I have been taking care of my body, like exercising since the past 25 years. I'm very consistent, so consistency is like a core value for me.
Mm.
So I don't think there's a single day that I have, even when I was expecting my children, in my pregnancies, I've been working out.
Wow.
Apart from that, I journal regularly. I wake up in the morning, and there is at least about 20 to 30 minutes that I kind of, that time is my time. And in that time, I usually either sit and just meditate, or do a bit of breathing, or just journal, or just have a cup of coffee and just disconnect from my from everything around me. And that is actually a time when, that is the time that I have for myself during the day. And then, of course, I go to exercise. Apart from that, I have some really wonderful friends, not many, but two or three, who I seek, support, and I get a lot of love and a lot of compassion from them. Uh, Other stuff too, like I get regular massages done. I have my own therapy, which is once a week. So,
Mhm.
really taking out time for myself, and really focusing on my feelings, acknowledging them, not shutting them down. So investing a lot of time. And yeah, so I would say like be selfish. And then again with this selfish word, there's so much shame that we
Yeah. But I think you can only care for others once you are well cared for. And I
of
don't
course,
think there's anyone well equipped to care for us than our own selves. I mean, we don't need to depend on
I
others. So like
agree.
they say, self-love. So yes, I think when you are happy from within, then you can spread that
Mm,
happiness. You know, if you
true.
yourself are carrying some trauma or some pain or some grief within you, then you can't spread happiness, amongst others. So I think, yeah, that's a very good way to stay on track because you are following a routine, you are consistent, you are happy with the way you are. So obviously, then, that is motivation enough to do what you really should be doing. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, and I think, Sangeeta, one thing that I would like to add here is that, there's this urgency culture, there's this constant running from one to another.
Hmm.
That's how we have kind of become, and constantly being on that survival mode.
Yeah.
So one I've learned in life is that we can't keep kind of going back in the past, change it.
Hmm.
Worrying about the future, we're not God. We don't know what's going to happen. So literally staying in the moment, in the here and now, and just immersing yourself in the moment. The little things, have a cup of coffee, literally enjoying every each and every sip. So
Yeah.
that is also, which like we say, mindfulness. So that is also one thing which really kind of it kind of connects me with myself
Yeah.
and gives me a lot of joy.
So yeah, these are important things, but like you said, in that mundane of life, and then hurrying from one job to the next, or one moment to the next, we just don't kind of savor or value what we have. In
Yeah.
that quest for what we want or what we couldn't do. Like when we are kind of, I think, feeling bad about those things, we just lose track of the present, and that, I think,
Hmm.
is something that we should keep in mind. Yeah. All right. So, Faraze, any valuable life lessons that you would like to share with us? I mean, there's again like life learning tips, because I think we learn from each other, and sometimes we may have experienced something, but we may not have learned anything from it. We may be just kind of wallowing in self pity that why did it happen to me and all of those things. And in that process, we may have missed the learning from it. So anything that you would like to tell us, I mean, like I said, any life lessons?
Oh, okay. So lots of life lessons. One of the harshest lessons, but I'm glad I learned it, is that, you know, make education a priority for your daughters.
Okay.
Instead of spending money on their weddings,
Hmm.
please educate them.
Hmm.
Education is one thing, their degree is one thing that no one can take from them.
Yeah, I agree.
So do that. That is one thing I've learned because I got married at a very, very young age. I did do my bachelor's thanks to my grandmother. She literally, said that no, there's no way she is going to do her bachelor's. I can't thank her enough for that. And
Hmm.
my mother. Um, but after that, I wasn't equipped to kind of financially be independent or financially empower myself. So education is one thing. I mean, there's no, please educate your daughters.
Hmm.
Um, Getting out of this, again, like I said, shame.
Hmm.
Um, the shame around um, so many things, Sangeeta, that there's this, when I say breaking the cycle of shame, so we are carrying generational burdens of shame, of
Yes.
trauma. So making your daughters aware, educating them, not only just educating them, getting degrees, but educating them through, mental health,
Yeah.
making them aware. What is your own relationship with abuse as a woman?
Hmm.
Because abuse is abuse. We can't justify it.
Yes, we cannot.
It breaks my heart to see women who have maybe doctorates, PhDs, coming to me for counseling, and they're stuck in abusive marriages, or they're stuck in abusive relationships at their workplace, right? So it's not just empowerment through education, it's also through a kind of psychoeducating them and making them aware that abuse is not okay.
Yeah.
All these things. And another thing which I learned was that, like sometimes when we as women relationships where there is where the male figure is maybe not earning as much as the female, whatever, the power dynamic little not according to the stereotypical kind of roles. So what happens is that women become the male figure, and in that they kind of start suppressing and repressing their feminine parts. So what I learned in life was that no, the feminine part is so beautiful. So
Yeah.
striking a balance between the masculine and the feminine. So these are all lessons, and then many other, like speaking up, speaking your truth. That is so important.
Yeah.
So I think these are some of the lessons that I've learned.
So I guess you would say that from these lessons, you would say that these are also things that young girls should keep in mind, when they are kind of, setting
Yes,
out in their
yes,
lives, personal, professional, they should keep these things in mind, the abuse part of it,
yeah,
being independent, financially,
yes.
emotionally. I guess these are the things that they should also keep in mind. And I think, somewhere, like, you are, of course, the mother of daughters, so you understand this very.
Yeah, of
And it is
course,
very
yes,
important
yes,
to be independent, because, any kind of dependence, I think it is like very demeaning, because
it
you are
is.
answerable to people, and that is not very good for your self-esteem. So, Faraze, now, of course, we see around us that a lot of women have become successful doing what they want to do, and they, making a name for themselves and climbing up. So how does the world react to such kind of women? And when I say the world, of course, I mean both men and women.
Okay, so so I feel that since I have started, started working, because I wasn't, right? I have recently taken
Yeah.
up this profession. So I feel that my children respect me more. I feel my parents respect me more. I feel the world respects me more.
Okay.
I feel my husband respects me more. So I mean, I'm not saying they didn't respect me earlier on, but I
Yes.
can feel that there is this shift,
Yeah.
and I feel I respect myself more, Sangeeta. I mean, I mean, why should I kind of us tarah karke? But it's more me. I feel that I myself today respect myself. I value myself. I value my time. I value my energy. So my space. So I think things are really changing, which is good.
Yes. Yeah.
It's really good to see how how quickly things are changing for women all around the world, and it's all about empowering yourself financially, emotionally, and respecting yourself.
Yeah. I think you have a point here. Before we start looking towards people to respect us, we have to respect ourselves. And that can
Yeah,
happen only when we are true to ourselves, when we, know that what we are doing is right,
yeah.
and we are following whatever our conscious or whatever we are doing, we know what is right. And then when we respect, like they say, you train people, you teach people how to treat you. So when you treat yourself well, when
True.
you respect yourself, obviously others will also, do the same.
Yes, yes, I totally agree with you. That's so right.
So, there's another thing that I've noticed around me, that a lot of people, when they reach their mid 40s or, late 30s or whatever, they have started switching to different careers, like what I called a midlife rebooting. So, doctor, taking
Okay.
to writing, or doing something different, which they were not doing earlier. So what do you have to say about that?
So today, I was, there's this page on social media called The Holistic Psychologist. And she had shared a post that there is so much pressure, I would say, or again, shame, that you have to accomplish certain goals before the age of 30 or at 30. And it
Mm-hmm.
was so beautiful, what she had written. This is exactly what she had written, that there is no age. You can change your profession. You can go do a degree. There is no age for it. So I think boxing individuals into doing a certain profession or being a certain way or accomplishing certain goals. So it's all got to do with age. And I think, I mean, that is also changing. I
Mm-hmm.
feel there is a huge change. I mean, I look at myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
I started my journey. I think my actual, my spiritual awakening or
Mm.
rebirth, it actually happened at age 40.
Yeah. So yeah, yeah, yeah. So I think you're right. There is a lot of awareness and a lot of openness in the way people are looking at things. There's more
Mm,
acceptance, and it is
true.
okay if people are doing different things at different ages. And now, no longer
Yeah.
age is any kind
Yes.
of bar. And then I think, with social media, there is so much of awareness. You can see other people doing so many things that you
Mm,
get inspired that, yes, if she can do it or if he can do it at that age, so can I. So of course we keep
mm.
criticizing social media for several reasons, but this is one way, which it is playing a very positive role, because it does give you a lot of inspiration. So yeah, there is awareness, there is openness, acceptance, and there's a lot of flexibility. So yeah, I guess that is helping a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
Okay, Faraze, so tell me something. Like most women, all women, if I may say so, you're juggling so many different roles: mother, wife, daughter, daughter in law, career woman. So, any tips, any secret sauce, any recipe that you have which you can share with us as to how you juggle these different roles?
Oh God, I wish I knew the secret recipes. But um, I don't know. Like, it does get pretty tough at times. I'm not going
Yeah.
to. I'll be very honest with you, because some, there isn't a day when one person isn't kind of who I kind of don't. I feel that I don't come up to that expectation that they had of me, the
Mm,
earlier version of me.
mm,
But I feel that my children have been, they're all five of them are so different.
mm,
I have four girls and then I have a son. But they're just so beautiful, and I am learning so much from them each
mm,
and every day. So with them, I share a very beautiful bond.
mm,
And the same goes for my husband. I mean, I feel he's very understanding and supportive. In fact, he was the one who kind of uh, you know held me when I was going through so much in life, and
mm,
also kind of directed me towards this path.
mm,
So his presence in my life is very, very kind of, I really value it. and
mm,
and the same goes for my children. So I just try my best to give them as much of my love and support as I can.
mhm.
Yes, it does get a bit exhausting at times, but now I have the tools to kind of, like you said, that unless you take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of those around you? So I am now in a place where I first, there's this one example I always give my clients in therapies, that when you sit in an airplane, they always tell you, wear the oxygen mask first, you wear it, and then put it on your other people around you,
Yeah,
loved
correct.
ones or other passengers. So that's my mantra, that
Okay.
unless I take good care of myself, that's how I will be able to take care of the people around me, whether it's my husband, whether it's my children, whether it's my parents. Um, like, I think that is one thing that I really focus on now: my own mental health, my own emotional well being, my physical health. Um, so I don't know, it's not that tough anymore.
Hmm. I think also as you grow older, you also kind of realize, how you can do it. Because I think when
Hmm.
initially, when all that comes onto you, you get overwhelmed. But I think with time and
Yeah,
age, you
true.
develop the patience. And I think the knack of also, prioritizing what is important today has to be done today, but, other things maybe
Yes, true.
postponed, to tomorrow. Yeah. So I guess we all find our ways and means of juggling, because we accept that we have to juggle. There is no questioning that why do I have to play so many roles? So I guess, yes, with time and experience. All right.
And I think one thing that I really want to kind of bring in here is boundaries.
Yes.
So
Yes.
boundaries are very important, something which is a little alien in our society because we are enmeshed kind of a society,
Mm-hmm.
especially in, Southeast Asia. We are enmeshed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so independence, individuation, boundaries, they're not very welcome,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of resistance. So boundaries in your relationships, whether it's with your husband, with your children, with your parents, every relationship, with your friends, giving them space and giving yourself that space.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think boundaries are beautiful. They actually make your relationships healthier.
Yeah, that is true. Those boundaries, I think, are very, very essential. I mean, first, we have to know that we have to draw those boundaries. Then we have them,
Hmm.
make them known to people, and then make them,
Yeah,
respect. Like I said, teach them how to treat you. So if you don't have
yeah,
boundaries,
true.
obviously people are going to be invading and kind of being all over you. So you have to have those
Hmm.
boundaries. Correct, correct. I agree. All
Hmm.
right. So Faraze, where do you see yourself 10 years from now?
Okay.
Yeah.
I see myself in this profession.
Yeah.
Um, I am planning to, so, in Lahore, the city I live in,
Yeah.
we still do need more counselors, therapists. So I do have this vision of opening up my own kind of a space where,
Yeah.
like a healing space where I could maybe rent out rooms to therapists or yogis, yoga teachers. Um,
Okay.
I have this friend who does this amazing breathing program called Journey to Joy. So maybe her, some place where people can come and do workshops or just kind of seminars on mental health. That is a vision I have. I also see myself. I want to take up a training in couple counseling because I are seeking couple counselors. We have very few here in Lahore. So
Okay.
yeah, so I see myself growing and evolving as a therapist, helping more people, reaching out to more people. Yeah, so definitely wanting to kind of you know work on myself and increase my knowledge, wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of giving it to others also.
Great, great. Fine. So bigger and better, definitely. So more power to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Sangeeta.
All right. So finally, I come to the last question, which I ask every woman. So, what do you say? Can a woman have it all?
Yes, of course. Of course, she can. She just has to believe in herself,
Okay.
really embrace her self, like all parts of her,
Mm-hmm.
masculine, feminine, the bad parts, the good parts.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing again, the shadow self. The shadow self is the part that we really don't even want to acknowledge. And there's so much, I would say, there are treasures there in the shadow. So, really embracing yourself, accepting yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and again breaking the cycles of shame and whatever that we've been carrying.
Yeah.
We need to let go. We need to let go of all these burdens of guilt and shame, and the stories that, oh, a mother is like, I would say, a sacrificial goat, which she's
Mm-hmm.
not.
Yeah.
She's a woman, so really owning your power. And of course, I feel that, of course, there's nothing that can stop you from having all that you want.
All that you want. And I think that's the key word, all that you want. Not what
Yeah.
people expect from you, but what you want. I think that is
No.
the critical part of it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so thank you very much. It was indeed a very, very interesting and enlightening, conversation. I'm so glad to be able to, do this with you, because I just feel that women, no matter where they are from, what age group, whatever it may be, we all are very, very connected. because we all have certain things which are common to us. You know, the issues that we all go
True.
through are pretty much the same. The life stages may be different, ages may be different, but then we all go through the same set of experiences. And I think this kind of an interaction
Absolutely.
can really help us learn from each other. And I think who better to teach us than a woman? Yeah. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Sangeeta. It was so wonderful. And thank you so much for having me here. And you take care.
You too. You too. Thank you.